Drieberg. He isn't real.
He's everywhere. He's physically in me. May the Lord bless and keep you joy.
I can't quite describe it as a horror film. I can't quite describe it as, well, I could, but
Yeah, you can.
How do you describe it, Rose?
A horror film, a psychological horror film, I think is what I'm saying mostly. I mean, to be honest, I'm caring less and less about the specific genre of it. I get that people want to make quite specific distinctions in terms of like, is it like jump scare heavy all the way through, or is it something a bit, I don't know, horror, psychological. I mean, to me, from the very beginning, like even now and all the way through, I kind of personally thought of it more as like a sort of messed up, creepy, fun character study, which definitely like veers quite heavily into horror. But for me, I was just interested in the character, and I guess the stuff that she goes through some terrifying things, and I wanted the audience to be sort of right in her shoes, and for it to be a very kind of subjective, intense experience.
And you're right, she does go through a lot of things. I mean, there's queer elements, there's the psychological stuff, there's loneliness, quite simply, there's love, there's all sorts, and you fit it into quite a very digestible amount of time. Yeah. I love a film that gets in there, smacks you in the face.
Oh, great. Me too. I've got a really short attention span, so it's worked out. I think I've done
a lot of films these days, Rose, just go on and on and on.
Oh, right. I mean, to be honest, I didn't think it would be quite this short. I've been writing it in a sort of knockoff software, script writing software, and the formatting wasn't quite compatible with the scheduling stuff we were using for the shoot. So they finally bought me the sort of fancy final draft. I moved the script into that and it shrunk by like 8 pages. So I think at one point it was like, oh fuck, it's going to be too short.
So it was literally a formatting of the script that has given it this beautifully timed film.
Pretty much, because for ages I was kind of like, got to cut out another 10 pages, got to get down to 90 minutes. And then it was like, I think the script was sort of 82 pages or something.
So you went from the American foolscap page to the European A4 page.
Yeah, I think it was something like that, exactly. So I was just like...
where film it? Where? I mean, because it's kind of this nondescript sort of.
Yeah, scene. It's meant to all be set in a sort of fictional English seaside town. We sort of cheated and shot all of the interiors, mostly in these 2 big houses in North London, and then all of the exteriors we did in Scarborough, which is a seaside town in Yorkshire, in north of England. But yeah, it's set in the present day, but I always wanted it to be set in a sort of slightly unplaceable, timeless version of it. You know, it's not a film about what it's like to be a young woman living in Scarborough in 2019. I wanted it to have, I kind of feel if films take place in their own slightly non-specific little world, for me anyway, it like lends itself a little bit more to allegory and being able to read in a bit more to sort of universal themes. Sounds dead wanky, but yes.
But creating a horror film, I wonder, do you worry about what people will think about you after seeing something like this?
It's fine, I don't really care.
No, but like, do you set out, obviously you set out to scare people and make people think, but then, you know, how sometimes an actor can forever be labeled as being that one character, but you as a creator, as a director as well.
Yeah.
Do you get worried?
I don't know, I didn't think that far ahead, to be honest. I think I was kind of like just the sort of question mark of like, will I ever get to make a movie has been the main sort of thing driving me through life since a fairly young age. So the idea of what do people think of you once you've done it is a new question. I mean, I like to think hopefully they'll think more of it in the film anyway. So filmmakers are never that interesting, really. We're just nerds. So I don't know.
And is this your thing though? Is this your place in the world? Is the horror filmmaking world?
I don't know. I mean, I to be honest, I'm working on a couple of ideas now. One of them sort of veering into horror a bit, but I mean, not exclusively. I think definitely though the kind of stories that I've been interested in telling do always tend to sort of veer into the sort of macabre, more twisted sort of side of things. But I think a lot of my favorite films growing up were less kind of like straight classic horrors and more like, what the fuck is that? So I think I'm kind of veering more into that. But I don't know, I like stories like this, which on the surface are very kind of, you know, tap into sort of like quite maybe weird or messed up stuff, but like find the universal relatable thing at the core of it. I don't know, I think everyone's more into that stuff than they'd admit Or maybe that's just me. Anyway.
No, I think you hit it on the nail there. But I wonder then, add the layer of a global pandemic when you're releasing a film.
'Twas prophecy.
Yeah, but like, obviously that wasn't part of this story, but the way people are now going to consume this and view this, and it may be in a theater, it may be on the couch, just the way of the world is right now. I mean, that adds another layer of bizarreness. And that's why I think for myself, even, I'm still able to think about it days later. Because I was able to share this film with someone who perhaps might not have come to the cinema with me because they might not have been a horror fanatic, but I managed to just catch his eye. He was cooking dinner at the time and I was sitting on the couch watching it, and then he got interested and then he couldn't get away. I mean, a global pandemic could have been good for this film in a way.
I mean, I wouldn't want to go quite that far, but it definitely makes you sort of view stuff in a different light, I guess. And, she's a nurse, like she's more like someone who used to work who you find out used to work in the sort of public sector in a big hospital and sort of has some kind of undealt traumas that didn't get dealt with. And I don't know, in some level, the film kind of touches on the importance of taking care of our caregivers. And obviously on a global level, we've all started to hopefully realize that more clearly than ever.
Where did you find Maud?
More of it? Yes, we found her. We've I don't know, on the street somewhere. No. She sent a tape in. She was pretty much like the last person we saw. We've been doing auditions on and off for like a year before we got the green light. She sent in a tape, and she just pretty much straight away I watched that and was like, she's the one. She's phenomenal, and I just feel really, really lucky that we sort of found her. And I can't imagine anyone. Everyone says that. I can't imagine anyone else playing the role, but it is true, and she's a phenomenal actor, and very excited to see what she does next.
And I have to ask I guess for even this question perhaps for her as well, but more so for you, would you consider yourself a religious person?
No, but to be honest, I consider myself a far less staunchly atheist cynic now than I was before making this film. I don't know if that's to do with the film or just as I get older, I don't know.
So do you think perhaps it evolved while making the film?
Who knows? It certainly made me sort of think about it all a bit more. Because I sort of I went to like Catholic all-girls convent school growing up, and Christianity was very much like around and very familiar. So probably like a lot of people growing up with a sort of like light touch religious upbringing, I kind of just sort of was really not interested in it and kind of, this is so boring, I don't want to go to church. And then so it's only a bit later in life that I've sort of started like thinking about it a bit more. I don't know. I generally am quite very cynical about the sort of organized religion part of any of this, but the aspect of, I guess, human mind that sort of wants, I think even if you're not religious, hopefully this is what I'm hoping people who aren't religious who watch Maud, I think even if you don't believe in God, I reckon the idea of sort of wanting to connect to something bigger than yourself or feeling like there's something sort of out there kind of binding us all together is a fairly, that's fairly easy to relate to, I reckon. So I kind of feel maybe it's the same bit of your brain at work. Maybe just some people don't call it God and don't think it has all the moral say and everything. But
yeah, that's a good way of putting it. But nothing went bump in the night or anything while you were filming?
No, I didn't sort of see the light, as it were. More just kind of getting over myself and being kind of like, I think to be like, there's definitely nothing. We know everything. It's just maybe a slightly arrogant view to have. I don't know.
No. Well, good luck with the film. Anything that we should be watching for in the future from you, Rose?
Who knows? Hopefully, I'd love to shoot something next year if the world hasn't ended. But yeah, more creepy, weird stuff.
Well, we look forward to it. Thank you for creeping the fuck out of me, as you put it. And
thank you so much.
We look forward to I'm sure you look forward to sharing the film. I look forward to hearing what people think of it as well. Thank you. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Nice to talk to you.
Nice to meet you. Bye-bye.
See ya.
How long have you been doing this?
Just over a year.
What were you doing before?
I worked in a hospital.
What made you leave?
It's what God wanted.
What's going on, Katie? Come on, you can tell me.
Back then I was so lost. But now I am transformed. And soon everyone will see.